My friend wants to cook me for her boyfriend in my vegan home and I should just get over it. Now she's hysterical because her boyfriend broke up with her right after. I have been friends with Jane for most of my life. She is like a sister to me. Jane is not vegan but my family and I are. My mother is especially strict about animal products being brought into the house and I share her values. This has never been an issue and Jane and her family have always been accommodating and mindful of this. Obviously, Jane was welcome to wear whichever clothes she wanted in our home but my mom asked if she wanted to eat at ours, if she ate our meals, or if she wanted to bring snacks that were free of animal products. This was never an issue. Fast forward to last weekend. Jane has recently started dating Brian. They live about 3 hours away from me so I offered to host them for the weekend. They arrived late on Friday and I had already cooked and had dinner ready. They both seemed happy with the food. However, the morning after I wake up they are gone. I message Jane and she tells me they left to get groceries. It was a little weird since my fridge was packed but I didn't question it. When they came back I saw that they had brought beef burgers and expected to be able to cook them for lunch. I was a bit surprised and asked Jane if she had forgotten about my rule. She sheepishly admits that no, she hadn't. She just didn't think I would mind this one time. Brian is one big question mark. I thought about dropping it but it made me uncomfortable. She went behind my back and put me in an awkward position with her new partner. Not just because I didn't like the food myself. I pulled her aside and told her as much and she begged me to drop it. She hadn't told Brian about my boundaries on this because they are embarrassing. I reiterated that the boundaries were still in place and kindly asked her not to cook the food in my home. I offered to go out and get plant-based burgers instead but she doubled down and called me a weirdo and stuck up. This was a shock to me because never in my 20+ years of knowing her has she ever mentioned this being an issue and to be honest her words hurt. I told her to please pack her stuff and leave. She stormed off and told Brian they were leaving. She later texted me calling me an asshole for embarrassing her. Brian, bless his heart, had absolutely no idea about what was going on. I don't blame him for bringing the food into my house but Jane should have known better. I feel bad about the fight. I know my rules are not conventional and likely feel strange and inconvenient to those who have different dietary requirements. With that said, no one is forced to stay at my house and my boundaries are clear. I don't know if I should have dropped this or not. Update: I host dinner parties for friends and family on the regular. My guests know to expect fully vegan meals. I'm a rather good cook though I say so myself and take pride in my dishes. I regularly do full Indian dinners, Mediterranean, with a twist, Chinese, or even just everyday comfort foods like mac and cheese, homemade soups and bread, Italian and there are always desserts. There's quite some misconception in place around vegan cuisine that it's nothing more than rabbit feed and tofu. I enjoy introducing people to the other side, the one with spices. No one leaves my home hungry unless they really want to. As I mentioned in the previous post, Jane and Brian left mine on Saturday. Jane messaged me soon after they left and she was too emotional for me to want to respond. I was also in a bit of a shock so I thought it would be best to cool off and have the conversation later. On Sunday evening I called her only for her to hang up on me. I messaged her and asked her to give me a call when she was ready. On Wednesday she called me and to make a long story short she expected me to apologize. I told her that I was sorry the trip ended this way but I wasn't sorry for enforcing rules in my own home. Rules that she has known and followed since she was 9. She kept fighting me on it and insisted that it was a stupid rule and that people eat meat. Get over it. I simply responded with not in my home they don't. She then hung up again. On Friday morning I woke up to a Facebook message request from Brian. I accepted it and he thanked me for hosting them and apologized for overstepping. I assured him that he did nothing wrong and that if Jane hadn't told him there was no way for him to know. As a side note, I cooked spaghetti bolognese for them on Friday and apparently, he didn't even realize it wasn't vegan. Perhaps I should have told him it was but according to Jane, he had no allergies so I just cooked and served. They both enjoyed the meal. Afterward, we had sorbet and black coffee, and no comments there either. Brian then told me that she had indeed told him. Side note in case this is confusing, Brian didn't respond with this information until after I had posted my first post. He works long hours and we wrapped up our Friday chat last night when he had time to chat. The morning after I slept and they woke up before me and helped themselves to breakfast in my downstairs kitchen. He had asked for milk in his coffee and she told him I only had oat. That sparked a conversation and she told him I'm vegan. According to him, he didn't mind. He then suggested that they go out and shop for lunch and cook for us. During that shopping trip, he suggested burgers and Jane said it was fine. They got beef and got me plant-based sausages. Once they arrived at mine and he saw how uncomfortable I was he realized that Jane hadn't been honest, hence him looking like a walking question mark. I can only imagine how uncomfortable he must have felt standing like this in someone else's home with nowhere else to go and no real rapport with the homeowner. At this point in the conversation I was getting upset. Jane had knowingly put us into this position and embarrassed everyone. There was no need for this and if Brian is to believe then he had no problem with eating vegan for the weekend. I thanked him for contacting me and told him I'd have a word with Jane. He asked me to let him have a word with her first to make sure there was no misunderstanding on his part. Well apparently Brian wasn't happy with this either and he broke things off with Jane today. She called me absolutely hysterical this morning and told me that they had had a massive fight last night that lasted well into the morning. He stormed out and told her it was over. I tried my best to console her but she is very hurt and shocked. I told her to get some sleep and call me again later in the day. Around 4 p.m. she called me again and apologized. She didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the fight but it turns out that their relationship, albeit short, has been on shaky legs for a couple of weeks. She admitted that she does indeed think I'm a little stuck up for my rules but doesn't say anything since it's never been a real inconvenience for her. Wanting to keep Brian happy, she just went along with his suggestions at the grocery store and hoped I'd make an exception. She's angry with us both for going behind her back to discuss it, but after I sent her the conversation I had with Brian, she said she understood. So that's where we are right now. Jane is my oldest and best friend and she made a bad call. She was feeling stressed about her relationship and struggling to keep face and she lashed out. I can forgive that and I will. I have invited her to come over between Christmas and New Year so we can heal our friendship.